Thank you very much. Thanks to AIOS and thanks Rishi for having me as part of your course. I think we are trying to simplify things in this course, as the title of the course suggests. We start with that's why I've divided the literature review in various criteria, starting with evolution. Why DMEC? Rishi's covered a little bit. What are the patient selection and outcomes? DMEC in a few special situations, DMEC versus DSEC, and then looking at tissue selection techniques and outcomes and looking at the learning curve and outcome. That is the most important thing, I think, the takeaway from my talk for people who want to start doing DMEC. Now, I think the evolution of endothelial keratoplasty is nothing short of the, evolution of humankind. It started with an anterior approach in 1956, then it moved on to the posterior approach, the modern day, endothelial keratoplasty as we know now, and which is now moving on to probably doing no keratoplasty. Now, anterior approach started in 1956, and it was modified in the 1990 by Baraker and John. This is the current day endothelial keratoplasty that we know, started with DLEC, DSEC, and then ultra thin DSEC and DMEC. DLEC was first done by Mellis in it was first done in 1998 by Mellis, where along with the endothelium, the stroma was also excised. In 2001, the first DSEC was done by Dr. Mellis, and this was the first sutureless technique which he had done, where a donor was folded into a taco and inserted, and he had good visual, results in that patient. Now, the first DMEC also was done by Dr. Mellis. This was in 2006. It was his first human case, a 63-year-old male with Fuchs, where he used a 9 mm button, inserted it through a 3.5 millimeter clear corneal incision. He stripped the desmids from the donor, captured it in the injector, and then he stained it with trypan blue and injected it into the anterior chamber. Now, and then he unfolded the tissue as we know now. Now, this was the first case. He had a good visual recovery, at day 1 and also 1 week. Now, moving, when you're moving from DSEC to DMEC, for a surgeon, it may look familiar, and it is familiar to a certain extent, but it's also a whole new procedure. So to answer the question, which Rishi has also answered briefly, that why DMEC? Now, the main reason for DMEC, as put forth by Dr. Mellis and also rightly, was that it's a thinner donor. And because of that, there is minimal to no interface opacification, and that results in a good quality of visual vision. That is the most important, advantage that you get in DMEC, which which we'll go forward and see whether how it's compared to your DSEC. And at that point, Dr. Mellis also thought that we are inserting a larger donor, around 9 to 10 millimeters, and so that is definitely advantageous also. And of course, lesser rejection, and that's why DMEC. Now, this was the first human series published by him in 2008, where 10 patients, he found, at that point, he had a traumatic insertion in 3 of them, where there was incomplete folding, graft trap, difficult positioning, and he also had 3 dislocation at 1 week. So if you see, the visual acuity is pretty good at 1 week for almost all of them. And also at 6 months, he had good visual acuity, but he found that there were folds which he saw at 3 months. And he concluded that at that point in 2008, he concluded that, we don't know about longevity, and dislocations are definitely occurring at a higher frequency. Now, that was the time when, of course, DSEC was at its peak, and, we were all doing really well with DSEC. Now, coming from there to now, like looking at the patient selection and outcomes, I think nothing better than to look at the literature again of Dr. Mellis itself. This is his 10-year data. Now, from 2008 to now, he's got a 10-year survival, data of his patients. What he has done in this paper is that it's a review article. What he has done is that his first 25 DMEC cases he has not included in this study, because he feels that could constitute as his learning curve. He's looked at the next 100 patients, 100 eyes, in which 88 patients were taken, and then he studied the various factors like vision, endothelial cell density. And what he found was that at 5 and 10 years, the visual acuity was better than or equal to 2025 in 82 and 89%, which is very significant, as we would know when in DSEC it's really difficult to get a visual acuity. Now it's very important to see in which kind of patients he had those great results. When we're looking at 89%, having a better visual acuity than 2025. You have to see that, like look at his case selection. In fact, most of them are Fuchs endothelial dystrophy and very few PBKs, and like just you can count on your fingers. So that probably may not be similar to an Indian scenario, but this is the point which I thought I just wanted to point out. Here again, this is just showing that in detail that at 5 and 10 years, most of the patients are actually having a great visual acuity. If you look at pachymetry, compared to pre-op, there is a decrease in pachymetry, but at 10 years, there's a slight increase again in the pachymetry. So, and also the visual outcome, where if there was a the dislocation, and in the detached graphs, and if they need to be rebubbled, it was found that final visual acuity really did not make any difference. And there was a statistically significant, improvement in the vision. Cell density, there was an 8% cell loss at 10 years. And in terms of complications, you can see 18% graft detachment and rejection, which is hardly any rejections in this patient, just about 4 rejections. That's 4% rejection, which is very, very low compared to, the other endothelial keratoplasty. If we look at graft survival compared to 5 years, it's 83% and then 79% at 10 years, which is comparable to all your other, keratoplasty options that we have for endothelial dysfunction. And so we can say that I think the only limitation in this study, of course, it's a retrospective study, and a lot of patients were dropped out at follow-up. So at 10 years, not that all the patients were followed up. Now, moving on, a DMEC in special situations, there are a lot of situations, but considering that this is, a simpler, like, an article, course for just, simplifying the entire thing, I'm just covering about DMEC in glaucoma, because I think that's something which we are going to see a lot. You look at this 4-year graft survival in patients with glaucoma. Here, what is a retrospective study? What they've done is they've looked at 94 eyes and they've divided it into 2 groups, study and control group. And they found that there was a significant difference in the graft survival. It was 75% at 1 year, and it goes down to just 27% at 4 years in the study group versus the control group. So that is definitely statistically significant, that it is the graft survival itself is going down. The visual acuity initially is the same in almost all of them. Endothelial cell loss is more in DMEC with glaucoma. Now, it was thought that since it's a thinner tissue and the anterior chamber, for the anterior chamber morphology, this may be better. But if you compare it with DSEC, you actually see that DMEC in glaucoma is not really doing very well. We do not know the reason why that's happening, but there is more rejection that is seen. Probably the learning, I don't know, difficult surgeries also could probably contribute to that. So this we need to be cognizant of that when we are planning surgery. Moving on to the next, next literature search. The next would be comparing your DMEC with DSEC. Now, I think this is relevant because especially to most of us who had started doing ultra-thin DSEC, where, the corneal tissue is just 100 microns or lesser, and we're getting great results where we are not really seeing, you're feeling that patient is really doing well, happy. Why do we need to then move to DMEC? I think this study and the following study, there are 2 studies which I'm going to show. One is prospective and one is retrospective. It will definitely, open up, clear up a lot of our doubts about this particular query. If you look at it, also, if you see ultra-thin versus DMEC, it looks almost similar. Now, this is a prospective study. It is a randomized control trial in between where they have, if you look at the, both the groups in ultra-thin DSEC and DMEC, they have compared it very well, like they've matched it very well in terms of age, in terms of diagnosis, in terms of the donor tissue that has been used. If you see, there is not so much of a difference. They've matched it really well. And this is the post-operative pictures of ultra-thin DSEC versus your DMEC. Now, however, if you look at the visual acuity, look at the visual acuity at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. You can see that there is definitely a statistically, significant difference in terms of visual acuity. At 3 months, there is a 1.5 line better vision in DMEC and 1.8 lines better at 6 months and 1.54 lines better than ultra-thin DSEC. If you look at the endothelial cell loss, it is lesser in the ultra-thin DSEC. versus DMEC, but it is comparable. If you look at adverse events, you can see that the rebubbling rate is definitely higher in the DMEC group. There is about 6 patients which had to be rebubbled. But apart from that, in terms of the other adverse events, rejection, there was no rejection in either group. It was found to be comparable. So I think in this particular study, they concluded that DMEC definitely provides superior vision. There is rapid visual improvement because the improvement happens at 3 months versus your DSEC, and there is a better visual acuity in DMEC compared to the DSEC. And endothelial cell count, of course, the loss is comparable. Now, this is another study where what they've done is they've compared fellow eyes of the same patient. So, but this is a retrospective study. There's ultra-thin DSEC done in one, and there's DMEC, which is done in the other patient. There's 18 pseudophakic patients, which again, just going to move on here. So what they've done is 36 eyes, they have again divided. One eye, they've gone back and studied, and one eye in which it was ultra-thin DSEC, and the other eye was DMEC. Again, if you look at this group, it is pretty well matched in terms of the graft which was used for the both the eyes. There's not much difference in that. What they found that in the patients, even the visual acuity, if you see, is that's coming, the visual acuity is more or less similar, but contrast vision was way better in the DMEC group versus the ultra thin DSEC group that was found. And what they concluded was that they did not really find any difference in the vision. The vision they found was similar in both. The patient said it was similar in each eye, but there was a better performance in the contrast vision. So I think we can conclude that at least in terms of visual acuity, if not visual acuity, then definitely in terms of contrast or quality of vision would definitely be better in DMEC. So moving on to the next literature review about tissue selection. Again, Rishi has covered a little bit. There's a review article which I've looked at extensively, and while quoting all of these recommendations, this was about how the donor should be prepared in DMEC, and this is another study in which they have put forward their experience about stripping their tissue in 527 tissues. Now, in donor tissue, like Rishi has already mentioned, it's better to use a donor which is older. If it is more than 65 years, of course, it feels much better if it is non-diabetic. If you're going to use a younger tissue, then it's going to have a tight scroll, which is difficult while doing your surgery. In terms of surgical technique, it's important that you do a partial trepanation. This is, I feel, a very important point, because initially I myself also would like make a full thickness, and this is such a small point, but it is very relevant, and why I will show you. When you make the first trepanation, you need to do a shallow trepanation of only around 100-150 microns, and for that you need to either you can do it with your regular trefine, but it's better to use your calibrated trefines like these. In these the authors in this article, they have preferred the Moria. Now the reason is that I think this picture will show it very clearly. You can see that when the cut is deeper on the left hand side, some of the endothelium cells are being dragged into that cut. Versus if the cut is superficial, you can see that the endothelium is not being dragged into the cut. Now when that happens, when it's not being dragged, then the chances of it when you're peeling of it tearing is very less. Versus in the first scenario, even if you've gone deeper and you try and peel it, you can tear your endothelium or the desmoids at that point. So these are the trefines which you can use for making your calibrated punches. The Moria punch is great.
Kavita will be covering these. Can you just quickly wind up on the literature, because we are a little ahead of time.
I just have a minute left, or it's because the timer was for 10 minutes.
No, it's been reset.
Oh, is it? No, because it shows 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to rush forward because they're going to cover all of this. So stripping would be with forceps, the scuba technique. These are the various forceps which you can use for stripping. There's a no-touch technique which has been, also been shown. This technique, I wanted to show the Murin technique, where here what he's done is he actually injects air and then he places the endothelium upwards onto this chamber, and he is using, not touching the endothelium at all, he's basically just using the balance, the cannula to separate the tissue, which I thought was interesting. He's also put forth his results and found that it's doing really well. The advantage is that the endothelium is obviously not outside, but it's on the inside when he's folding the tissue.
Can you wind up, Kavita?
Okay, so this is the F stamp. I think again you all are going to be showing this. I will end with this last talk, the last literature, where in 100 cases this person has he's an experienced surgeon, where he's compared DSEC with GMEC, and he's found that his results were comparable. So I think just want to conclude that if he can do it, then so can all of us. The learning curve is definitely much easier than we all think, and DMEC is the way to go. Thank you so much.